So Jeff Graham is a founder and partner in Boulder-based creative agency Grenadier. For 23 years, Jeff has been leading accounts in some of the country's most creatively driven agencies: Crispin Porter Boguski, Arnold Worldwide, TBWH High Day, and Core. His account experience includes some of the world's most iconic brands: Volkswagen, Microsoft, Gibson Guitar, Virgin Mobile, Geek Squad, Indian Motorcycle, Old Navy, Under Armour, and Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey. So a couple of decent brands there. Jeff has served as an adjunct instructor for over a decade in advertising programs at the University of Colorado Boulder and the University of Missouri Columbia, where he's a graduate. And in his spare time, he's a proud dad of 4 daughters, and he recently bled their college funds dry by painstakingly recreating the 1968 Mustang Fastback Steve McQueen drove in Bullitt. So without further ado, yes, it's the amazing Jeff Graham to tell you how to lead accounts in a way that we should all be leading accounts.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks for having me, and thanks for putting this whole thing together. This is awesome. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about a subject that's near and dear to my heart. Jen mentioned I've done a lot of teaching here in Colorado and back where I'm from, Missouri, but just this idea of creative account management, creative account leadership, which is not an oxymoron, but it's a subject that's near and dear to my heart. Do we have any other, please tell me there's another account person in here other than me. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3. All right, yes. We account folk have to stick together, so, all right, so me and 3 other account people. Well, that's great, but I assume the rest of you guys are your designers, your producers, your art directors, your designers, and you're probably wondering why the least creative person in an agency is standing up here talking about creativity when I've never designed anything, art directed an ad, or written a line of copy. God, thank God, in my life. So, but I would argue that there's always been 2 ways to be an account person, and basically, I'm here to talk about how to be an account person that all of you guys don't hate. That's basically like what my teaching and talking to young account people all these years has been about. And I'd argue that there's a way of being an account person where we're basically cut from the same cloth that you folks are, that are creatives, and that we can be actually critical in helping you as creatives get your very best work, sold, made the way you want to get it made, produced out in the world, kicking ass and taking names and making some awesome things happen in culture. And I like to refer to those people as creative account leaders. Unfortunately, this is the way we're all used to seeing account service done. Unfortunately, this fucking guy. Pete Campbell, the bane of my existence, and you've all got your own Pete Campbells walking the halls. Hopefully not, but obviously we've been exposed to this guy for 7 seasons of Mad Men, and the weasel, the smarmy yes man, doesn't give a shit about the work, would sell his creative team down the river in a second to ingratiate himself with the guy from Lucky Strike. Probably sees his job as one of being a check on the crazy creatives inside the agency and sort of being the voice of the client inside the shop. And while Pete's a fictional character, the reason it lasted for 7 seasons and it resonates so much is because there's a lot of truth in that character, and legions of people over decades that probably worked in ways that aren't altogether different from Pete's shenanigans on that show. And when I started back in the Stone Ages in the early 1990s, it was not uncommon to see, these are actual print ads that you would see in your average issue of Ad Age and Ad Week. No shit, these are real ads. The one on the left is from a Minneapolis-based production company that was just, selling their services to agencies, and they talk about, we charge a fair price to execute commercials. Account executives are executed for free. And then here we've got one from a Rhode Island newspaper that's selling space to reach Rhode Islanders, to media buyers and planners. And they talk about reaching Rhode Islanders requires so little thinking, you'll feel like an account executive. So, and I love the first line of copy, it's a no-brainer. So, this is just like the hate fest that I'm like just flipping through. There it is, like, okay, your whole industry hates you, great. So that's the cartoon, these ads, Pete Campbell, that's the disease. And the kind of account management that I like to practice and preach and talk about, creative account leadership, I think that's the cure. Because I think it's a brand of account leadership that's sought after by agency leaders, by clients, and by great creatives alike. Hopefully you guys all know who Luke Sullivan is. Obviously a legendary ECD. He's an educator now at Savannah College of Art and Design, and of course, the author of the iconic Hey Whipple Squeeze This. And in that book, he was giving advice to creative folks, and he talked about account people specifically, and he talked about some account people are great, some are so-so, and some are just plain bad. It'll pay for you to hitch up with the smart ones as soon as you can. The good ones have the soul of a creative person. They'll share your excitement over a great ad, they're inspiring, articulate, honest, have a better batting average of selling your work. So that's a great quote, why you as creative people should really care about account service in your shops. It really is about your book and getting your best work sold and made the right way and out in the world to tell those stories that you want to tell. Alex Bogusky, obviously great creative here in Colorado. I was lucky enough to work with him for several years at CPB in Boulder. And at a 4A's conference, he talked about no one has a bigger impact on the produced creative than people in account management. And obviously you take that as very high praise from a guy who's a creative legend, who ran a juggernaut creative agency that was producing, boarding up, presenting tons and tons of great creative ideas, but in many cases the difference between what got produced and what just ended up getting round filed, in many cases was artful account management. So I take that as high praise. Gail Troberman was a client of ours. I got to work with her for a couple of years on a couple of Microsoft engagements. She was the chief creative officer there, but she talked about the single most important piece for success for the agencies that Microsoft works with is actually the orchestration, not necessarily the creative. That account management is really the most important function within those agencies. Again, lots of agencies presenting tons of work to Microsoft every day. What gets produced, good, bad, or great work, in many cases boils down to that orchestration and some skillful account work. And I love this, it's a classic quote from a guy named Mal McDougall who ran Hill Holiday in Boston. I happen to believe that the only purpose of an agency is to create great advertising. What a concept, right? To me, that's the only significant way we can serve our clients. I don't even know what client service is if it doesn't serve the goal of providing the client with great advertising. And to me, it's a very inspiring quote. It's really where creative account leadership starts to me. Just a crystal clear understanding of what our role as account folks is in our agencies, and really a shared vision of what clients are coming to us for in the first place. It's about the work, it's about the product that we produce as agencies. That's why clients are coming to us, and it's really important for us as account folks to snap to what our role is in making those great ideas happen. So what's your mission as an account person? It's something I ask myself every day. I hope you guys do. And the best account people I know are kind of constantly asking themselves that. When I was at CPB, I had the good fortune of getting to work at the departmental level, and we sort of crystallized an account service department mission for ourselves. And this is where we landed: to create an environment on every account, on every assignment, where bold, culture-changing ideas can live. And that's really what we do, right? That's what we do both inside the agency and inside the client organizations that we work in. You know, we don't do what you do. We can't do what you do. We don't design, we don't art direct the ads, we don't write the ads, but we do create a set of conditions. You know, we lay the groundwork, a strategic foundation. We make it possible, almost like an offensive lineman, kind of like making holes for, you know, for running back in an NFL game. I mean, you know, we make those conditions possible for creative success, and then of course great business results to happen for clients as a result of running your work. And whether you buy this viewpoint of account service as one of creating conditions for creative success, I think boils down to how you view the industry. I think it's a big part of whether you're a creative account leader or not has to do with how do you view the industry overall. Do you view advertising as a service industry? And many people do. It's a service business that's all about process. It's all about relationships, kind of the journey is the destination. Or do you view it as more akin to a manufacturing business, where the agencies themselves are almost like factories with an assembly line that you can't see? Businesses that produce, you know, that the agencies produce a very tangible product, you know, great work. And essentially what we do is we build creative solutions to business problems that our clients bring us every day. It's probably not surprising that, you know, I'm a big believer in the second school of thought. You know, I'm in the manufacturing camp. I think creative account leaders see advertising as more of a manufacturing business. It's probably not fashionable to say with the way that digital and technology has revolutionized our business, but I firmly believe that advertising was, is, and always will be about the product that we produce collectively as agencies rather than service with a smile. Now, to be clear, you know, process is important. You know, process competency is critical to earning the trust that a client's going to give you to make your best, boldest ideas. But it's, to me, it's table stakes. You know, it's how we do our job as account people, but it's not why we get out of bed every day, go into agencies excited to do what we do. You know, it's how we do what we do. It's not the why that defines us or should define any of us as account people. That's my view. Same with client relationships. They're also very, very important. They're critical to earning that trust to get a client to buy a giant idea. But I believe the strength of those relationships should be based on the quality of the work output that we produce for their brands and the results that work generates. That's, to me, the foundation for the best client relationships I've certainly ever had. And one reason I think that product orientation, that manufacturing worldview is so important is it ensures that whatever function you are within an agency, whether you're an account person, you're a planner, you're a programmer, you're a designer, you're an art director, you're a writer, that we're all working towards a set of shared goals. And that we're using a common scoreboard, you know, just like a factory is saying, you know, 365 days without an accident, or, you know, tracking their productivity or quality. You know, we're looking at our prolific output as agencies, as factories of these custom creative solutions to business problems. And that's how, you know, we measure our success collectively as an agency, using the same set of metrics, the same scoreboard. So that's one huge characteristic, I think, of people that are creative account leaders, And these are just some more, big characteristics that I look for when I'm trying to hire young folks that I think are would-be creative account leaders. And hopefully all of you creative folks can look for in your own shops to kind of spot those creative account leaders to be in your own agencies. First one is they never forget who their most important client is. And when I talk and teach a lot and I'm in a room with young account people, I'll ask that question, quick, tell me who your most important client is. And you'll start to see the wheels turning of, you can tell they're thinking about, well, based on revenue or profitability or the amount of awards we won or the work we generate and how important that is for the agency. They're trying to figure out of their clients, which one's kind of at the top of the pecking order. And it's a trick question, right? Because your most important client isn't your client at all. It's you. It's the agency that you work for. My most important client always will be Grenadier. That's a fact. And my personal brand as an account person, the account person that I want to be inside my agency. That's more important at the end of the day than any of the clients that I work on. Because the fact is, we all know this, clients come, clients go. You could work on somebody's business for 10 years, kill yourself, wreck your marriage, pull all-nighters, miss your kid's birthday party for 5 years, and we all know one bad quarter, 1 year of missed results, one C-suite change, and they'll fire your fucking ass in half a second or put the account in review. It really doesn't matter what you've done. So it's always best to make sure that you're taking care of your most important client first, because you're going to have to live with that legacy long after those folks are gone and on to the next agency or the next agency after that. So never forget who your most important client is. What am I doing to make the work better? That's a question I try to ask myself every day. Like I said, what's my mission as an account person? What am I doing to make the work better, to move it forward, to get it sold, to keep it sold, to get it produced the way you guys want it produced out in the world the right way without dying a death by 1,000 cuts, And it's a lot easier said than done. It takes a lot of skillful account work to make that happen. But I really do believe that, that is the question. That should be the organizing principle of every account person's day. What am I doing to make the work better? Obviously, time is our most important and valuable asset, as that's what we literally sell, right? We're selling our time. We're charging people for hours. So as an account person, I feel like it's really critical for me to align, my schedule, the way I'm spending my time, to mirror my purpose as a creative account leader, and my broader agenda for making great ideas happen. Are these 10 meetings I have stacked up on my calendar, are they really helping to move the work forward? Is this deck I'm working on really helping to do that, or am I just making a deck to make a meeting? Is this conference I'm thinking about flying to for 4 days really gonna get better work out in the world? And if not, maybe I shouldn't go. But if it does that, that's fine, go ahead and do it. But my belief is that we should be aligning our schedules and using our most precious asset, our time, to align with our broader goals as creative account leaders. Every project deserves a thoughtful, inspiring, creative brief. I would argue that outside of signed contracts and estimates, there is no more important document inside of agencies than great, inspiring, client-approved creative briefs to kick off every assignment. There is no assignment that's too small to spend the time to get creative folks like yourselves off on the good foot. But so many young account folks or students, that I spend time with or talk to or teach or train, I'll look at briefs that they've put together, and that, they're not really briefs. They're insight free. They read more like a to-do list or a statement of work or a checklist of deliverables. When I was at Old Navy, I was the fake CMO of Old Navy for about 6 months, and the briefs I would read there read like a weather report. You know, it's like, it's summer, time for dresses, you know, like, that's, you know, it's hot, you know, it's like, time for shorts, like, that's not a brief, guys, you know. So, you know, if there's anything that's the turf, you know, of an account person inside an agency, it really is, and it depends on the structure, obviously. If you have planners, you're probably co-authoring, co-owning that brief. But if it's a very small agency, and I've worked in small agencies where there's no planners, it's like on, you know, the account person to really dig deep and try to find that killer consumer, cultural, or categorical insight to get every project kicked off the right way. You guys deserve that, and you should demand that, you know, every single day from the account folks that you work with. That's something that has been the foundation of all the coursework that I've taught both here at CU and back at Mizzou, is really drilling young would-be account folks on briefs, how to write them, how to sort of pick them apart, and just even know what a good brief is. I think creative account leaders need to bring ideas. You know, it's a business imperative that they bring ideas, and they bring ideas that are informed by their unique business intelligence. So I don't mean doing armchair creative work, you know, trying to art direct stuff or write scripts or anything like that. I mean, you know, bringing ideas. Maybe it's a packaging innovation. You know, maybe it's a new way to sell or distribute a product. You know, it might be, you know, some promotion or program to get salespeople motivated. But those are the kinds of ideas that should be thought starters in every brief that come from account people, from their unique understanding of the business and how it works and how our clients are going to succeed. When I was at CPB, I think a great example of that, I don't know if you guys remember this, but when we worked for Microsoft, there was a campaign called Laptop Hunters. And you would see, you know, we'd sort of film these consumers, we'd give them a fistful of cash and send them out and have them shop for, you know, for computers. And they'd look at PCs, they'd look at Macs, and sort of compare the features and see what they could get for their money. You may not know this, but that campaign actually was the idea of an account person. The account person that ran Microsoft, who knew, you know, the data points, and one of the few kind of chinks in Apple's armor at that point was on price value. That consumers, even consumers who loved Apple's products, would say, I feel like I pay a lot for, you know, what I get from a Mac versus a PC. So, you know, she knew that that was a weakness, and that ended up being the idea behind this campaign. And it not only made for some, I think, pretty entertaining kind of real storytelling, but some pretty incredible business results, because during that campaign, Apple actually changed the price of the MacBook. They responded to these ads by lowering the price to introduce the first ever sub $1,000 MacBook that they'd ever launched. They did that during this campaign. We actually had to go back in and like re-edit it and like change the, you know, the dialogue about the price that they were saying, because Apple had responded while it was on the air. So it's pretty cool to see, you know, an idea from an account person, you know, informed by their unique understanding of the business, creating not only, you know, pretty neat, memorable work, but also some incredible results for the trajectory of the business. So I think creative account leaders own this idea of account momentum. We talked about momentum a lot when I was at CPB, and by account momentum, and you guys all know this in your own shops, there are certain accounts you're looking at and it's like, God, that team, like that piece of business is on fire. You know, they do great briefs, they're having great meetings, they have awesome chemistry with their client, they're presenting stuff, they're on shoots all the time, like putting great work out in the world, and it's like, I wish I worked on that. And then there's a whole set of other accounts that you're kind of looking at, and it's just like stuck, right? Like, it's like they just have meetings and make decks, and they have meetings about meetings and the next meeting that they're gonna have, but they don't seem to like get anything made. They're not like doing anything, you know? And so that's what I mean by accounts that have momentum and accounts that don't. And creative account leaders know that a lot of that honestly just comes from the irrational, contagious enthusiasm that you bring to every briefing for every assignment. Because if you're not excited as an account person about the creative and business potential for a new campaign or assignment, why the hell else, why should anybody else be? So, case in point, I made this. So this, when I was a young puke right out of University of Missouri, Columbia, working in advertising, I was the account guy on a project this is an injectable ag biotech product for dairy farmers that made them more productive and profitable, and it's an instruction card for Hispanic dairy workers in the Central Valley of California. So whatever you've worked on, if you think it's bad, I think I got you beat. So, but I was not only the account person on this, I was the PA on that shoot. So, staring at the wrong end of a dairy cow for 8 hours, ankle deep in shit on a dairy farm, I think in Exeter, California. But at the same time, while it's funny, I also knew that there was a lot of great, incredible technology in this product that was going to make a lot of dairy farmers more productive, more profitable. At the time, there were a lot of family dairy farms that were going out of business, and this, in some cases, could be the difference between a dairy staying in business or going out of business. So, trying to find that sort of higher order, noble purpose in every assignment, I think, is a big part of the job. Turning shit into gold is what we talk about. Finding the virtue, the higher purpose, something cool, creative, and business potential in every single assignment, even the most mundane. That's a big part of our job as account folks, and I think creative account leaders are very good at that. And they work for the work. A mentor, a dear friend of mine, an old boss told me, there's a couple kinds of account people. There are account people that get too far, they're too big of fans of their client, and then there are others that are too far in with their own creative departments. And when we go too far in either direction, that's when account people get into trouble. So the best policy is work for the work, right? The work that's on that wall, that's inspired by, hopefully, the great, insightful brief that you put together, the business objective that we've got from the client, and we know that it, that needs to happen. Use that as, your client. And that's gonna mean having some conversations with your client, maybe telling some things they don't wanna hear, but at the same time, not letting yourself falling into the trap of being a sycophant of your own creative department where everything that goes up on the wall is like, oh, that's fucking awesome. When maybe it isn't, maybe it's good when there's potential in that assignment for great. So, it's probably having, tough conversations on both sides, kind of being Switzerland, right there in the middle, right up the middle, and working for the work. It's a pretty good policy and a good piece of advice. So, just kind of a rundown summary of what I look for again in creative account leaders, that product orientation, that manufacturing worldview of the industry, knowing that the most important client isn't a client at all, organizing your day around that central principle of what am I doing to make the work better, every project getting a thoughtful, inspiring, insightful, creative brief, bringing ideas that are fueled by business intelligence, owning account momentum, and knowing it's got to start with me. It's got to start with my own enthusiasm for the project and just working for the work. So that's a nickel's worth of free advice about how to be a creative account leader. So for you 3 account folks here in the room, thank you for coming out. I hope that that's some maybe inspiring bits of advice to, if you're not already on that path, to become a more creative account leader within your agencies. And for all you, creative folks, I hope this is helpful for you too, because, these people are out there You know, they're out there, they're probably in your own shops, you know. They're rare, but they're there. And they will help you get your best work, you know, made, sold out in the world. You know, they can help, you know, change your careers and your agencies for the better. But you got to demand that your agencies not put up with mediocre, process-oriented account work and start, you know, finding, recruiting, training, and retaining folks that do this stuff every single day. And, you know, I don't think it's a stretch to say I think the industry will be, you know, better because of it. So that's what I got, and thanks for having me.